Any debate? I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? And thank you. Move. Thank you.
Thank you. That was easy. Now we're doing Rod Donald. Rod Donald?
Yeah, we'll just...
We're going to do Rod Donald?
Yeah. So we're going to do item 13 now, but I'll only be in the chair, and I know it's going to disappoint everybody for item 2, the Rod Donald Trust.
So it's just me.
Yeah.
So we'll just do... So just Rod Donald Trust. So the only comment I wanted to make in regards to the draft statement intent, very similar to last year, the financial forecast reflect the residual trust fund prior to the commencement of the LTP funding, but from 23-24, and the financial forecasts are preliminary, is subject to a strategy planning session to be finalised prior to finalisation of this statement of intent. And that was the only comment I really had.
Happy to move. So any questions on Rod Donald? So just Rod Donald. This is
just Rod Donald.
Nope.
Yep.
Happy to move. Okay. Second. Obviously, I don't think there'll be any debate on this. So all those in favour? Aye. Against? Abstentions? Thank you. And I'll hand over the chair back to the chairman.
Mike moved.
Yep.
And everyone seconded. Thank you.
All right, great. So that brings us to the other two item 13 items. So Civic Building, first of all. Leah, do you have some comments on that one?
Yeah, obviously just to remind people, Civic Building is a 50-50 partnership and joint venture with Notahu Properties, which owns and manages the Civic Building. Very straightforward statement of intent. Obviously the only change is more so the reflection of the reducing loan. So the interest is reduced, but other than that, there's not much more to add.
All right, so are there any questions on Civic Building? All right, so I'm happy to move the resolution in respect of Civic Building. Tim will second. Is there any debate? All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. So now let's move to Central Plains Water Trust draft statement of intent.
So the Central Plains Water Trust is a joint trust with Selwyn District Council for the purpose of owning and holding the long-term resource consents for the taking of water for the purposes of irrigation in the Central Plains. The trust issues water rights, use rights to Central Plains Water Limited. Key purpose of the trust is to ensure the water company complies with the water use rights, and the CPW Joint Committee makes recommendations to the two settler councils regarding the trust. Key point that we would note in regards to the draft statement intent that it does not provide climate change commitments, as the trust is not operational itself. The relevance of reducing emissions essentially for the trust itself is not quite significant other than meeting. Don't look at me like that, Sarah. I've got that look. Staff propose, though, that the council request the joint committee members, and if in agreement, that the request for the climate change commitment be provided as a formal content in the draft statement of intent for the trust. And also, staff are currently in the process of drafting some advice for elected members, which we will bring in the next month, which is in regards to the legal issues and whether to stay in the trust and what we can do from that. So we will bring that back in the next month. We're in the middle of the process of doing that.
Great, thank you. So are there any questions on the Central Plains Water Trust draft statement of intent?
To make that a bit clearer again, so do you want the joint committee to instruct the trust to instruct CPW Limited to have...
No. So it's more so the draft. So there's no climate change commitments, right? So, and even though it's not operational, we're saying, the relevance of emissions is still valid, and they do some stuff. So the staff are proposing that the council request the joint committee members to raise this matter with Selwyn, because both the councils have to actually provide that. I think it's in the report. We've got the more detailed wording in regards to what we do. So we'll formally send that through to you, Pauline.
I thank you.
Yeah.
I just check though. They are, while then the trust themselves aren't operational, they're the holders of the consent, and therefore they are responsible for what happens with the consent. Yeah.
They're responsible to ensure that the Central Plains Water complies
with the consent.
But the trust hold the consent.
Yes.
It's kind of like with us.
Yeah.
And
the trust are also liable to hold the consent.
I think we've strengthened that quite a lot in the
Yeah.
letter of expectation,
Yep.
that the monitoring and compliance is quite key,
Key.
and the reporting on that as well needs to happen. Yep.
All right. So if there's something to come back on that, then
We're coming back in the next month, and not in
Yep.
regards to the draft statement sent necessarily. We will pass on feedback to
Yep.
what we want, but it's more so in regards to the advice that has been asked by elected members in regards to the legal status of that trust and
yeah,
whether we should
which
stay
is a
on it,
different matter.
which is a
than
different
statements
matter.
of
But I
intent.
wanted to highlight that.
Is there
being
anything
done.
further that we need to do by resolution today, then, other than receiving the
Just receive
draft statement of intent? That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So can I then? Are there any more questions? Can I then have a mover for Central Plains Water Trust? Tim will move. Jake will second. Is there any discussion? Sarah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with the statement of intent, and that won't surprise many people. I don't think we should be involved with Central Plains anymore. Not sure we should have to start with. What's happened is that the statement of intent does not deal at all with climate change. It has some water quality monitoring that happens, but there's more to the environment than water quality. The water quality is not good. If you look at the latest sustainability report, it is not good. And it's very clear that the land use has changed substantially in the areas that are serviced by the trust, and they have increased substantially the amount of dairying that's happening on those farms that are serviced by the trust. None of that is taken into account as part of the environmental monitoring. And so I'm not happy with the status of the statement of intent. Won't be voting to accept it. I know it's just a draft, but I think it really does need much more enhancement. They hold the consent. They are responsible for the consent. And there's a range of things. So they were pinged by ECAN over additional take from the Rakaya River that wasn't warranted, and the environmental impacts of that. Article about that last year. ECAN haven't been able to do anything because it was too late on that particular one, but I don't think that their monitoring has been good enough, and I don't think it's on a broad enough measures. Thanks.
Thank you. Just noting this was moved by Tim, seconded by Jake. Pauline.
Yeah, look, I hear what Sarah's saying, but I think the fact that we've got representation on the joint committee, and so is Selwyn, which actually oversees the trust, and the objectives in number 2 and 1A, 1B, one of the objectives is agricultural and horticultural diversity, and that was something that I really wanted to highlight. And I think we've got to understand that this trust has gone through some radical change in the last 18 months, 2 years, and I think it's our role to actually really, we've got an opportunity to keep an eye on them delivering these on the SOI through their annual report. And that's why I really encourage us to still be a part of this, because it doesn't mean that we're agreeing with the operations of Central Plains Water Limited. It means that we can support the trust to oversee the better outcomes through the SOI. So I think there's an opportunity here to get things happening in a better way. So I'll support this today.
Thank you. Okay. No further discussion. Again, just noting that it was Tim that moved this and it was Jake that seconded.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong, my apologies, I'm looking at the wrong line.
It's late in
Double
the day.
apologies, because I said that twice. Obviously, it's been a long day. Yanni.
Thank you. I just wanted to say ditto to what Sarah said. Thank you.
That was short. Thank you. All right, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? So the noes, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's 5. So that's carried. Thank you. All right, so moving on to, now we were going to do
Te kaha, I think, like you.
Te Kaha followed by LGFA, would that be
Yep.
correct? Yep, all right, so let's do that, because we were going to do LGFA at 3:30.
Yeah, I know.
We'll
but
just
it's
keep
not-
going through in order.
no.
All right, so
Okay.
Te Kaha next. Excellent. So Barry, welcome to the table. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.